Alright, howdy folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Great War Western Front. I've been wanting to make another video on this game and I figured now was the best time to do so, as the game will be released on March 30th with a pre-order release happening on the 27th. And with the release imminent, I do very much plan to make a bunch of content on the game after the 27th, though today we're going to dive into some of the gameplay I recorded a few weeks ago during a preview event with the developers. In this video, I'll be talking about and showing off the campaign, which is I think the most unique feature of the game and the biggest selling point of it. If you want to see some of the actual RTS battle gameplay, I have previously made a dedicated video on an in-game battle, which you can find linked in the description, as well as a link to the game's Steam store page. There is also some battle gameplay in this video, but it's taking a backseat to the campaign gameplay. In the campaign, you either play as the Allies or the Central Powers, and you fight from 1914 up to 1919 as you either try to recreate history or change the outcome of World War I. In the campaign, you are the theater commander of either faction, taking control of forces on the Western Front, which includes parts of Germany, France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And in the specific footage, we are in 1918, and the Germans are about to receive a ton of reinforcements due to the Russians making peace with the Germans in the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, allowing the Germans to transport a bunch of their units from the east here to the west. There are two ways to win one of these campaigns, either by capturing the location of the enemy command headquarters or by bringing the national will of an opponent to zero. Now, losing battles is a way to lose will, though there are also events and other ways to gain or lose additional national will. To capture a region, you need to commence a battle for it, and the more stars a region has, the more turns it'll take to fully capture it. If you commence battle and you get a great victory as a result in a battle, it'll knock down the province or region by 1 star. When the region has run out of stars, the attacker will occupy it. However, stars do regenerate at 1 star per turn if the region isn't attacked during that turn, though you can also attack a region multiple times from different adjoining regions, so it is possible to knock down multiple stars in a single turn. A large part of this game mode is knowing where to attack the enemy and where to expect enemy attacks to be coming from, so both you and the enemy can use espionage missions to find out more about an enemy-held region. And though your first spy mission in each turn has a 100% success rate, every following mission during that turn will have a higher and higher chance to fail. Now, there is a upgrade system with structures that will give you bonuses, and they have multiple upgrade levels, though I haven't really been able to mess with these too much, but it does mean that every region has a reason to be upgraded. So after handing the turn over to the Germans, we end up getting attacked, and normally you can opt to either play the battle yourself in the RTS view, concede, or have the computer fight for you in an Autoresolve. In this, we are forced to fight the battle ourselves on the battlefield. Now, in these battles, you do get to do some initial setup in terms of your unit and trench placement. The cool part here is there is definitely a lot of persistence to the way these trenches are made by either faction. The first time you commence a battle over a region, it'll dictate the look of the battlefield in future battles on that same map. Any trenches that are built will stay and can be used by either faction in future battles until they're either destroyed or the region changes owners. There are different trenches and trench types you can build. The 3 types of firing trench, basic, improved, and advanced, allow infantry certain protection against artillery fire and almost complete immunity against incoming rifle fire. Furthermore, a communication trench allows infantry to quickly move from one trench to another without having to basically get up out of the trench and expose themselves to a lot of fire, though the communication trenches are definitely less safe than the firing trenches. There's also a blockhouse trench, which will provide infantry with great protection and allow you to put quite a few more in there. However, they can't fire out of it. It is really just a temporary shelter to protect against heavy artillery barrages, or to use during the setup phase when you're not trying to get your infantry killed in the trenches in a preemptive bombardment. Personally, I really love setting up my own trench network, something that over multiple battles will only get more chaotic and intricate, making battles even on the same map feel different from each other in different campaigns. Besides trenches, you can and should also put down emplacements such as machine guns, mortars, howitzers, observation balloons, and more. All of these things do cost supply, something that you'll also need later during the actual battle to call in artillery strikes, to pay for reinforcements or request air support, so you always have to keep in mind where and when to use your supply. Something that I noticed and mentioned to the developers when I had the chance to talk to some of them over multiple times was the lack of a withdrawal hotkey. Something the devs will hopefully consider adding before the release, or maybe soon after, as I think it'll greatly increase the overall feel of the game and make it easier to micro larger amounts of units. Furthermore, retreating units never felt like a necessary thing to do unless it was a mission objective or side objective. In Company of Heroes, it's cheaper to retreat your badly damaged infantry unit back to base and replenish the losses inside of the squad than it is to buy new squads all the time. Now, I understand that in the Great War Western Front there's no base to retreat or withdraw units back to, but it would be nice to be refunded even a small amount of supply for units that you end up withdrawing. This could either be a base set amount or an amount tied to the overall hit points of the unit that are left after you've retreated them. What kind of caught me by surprise initially was that though 2 units can man most trenches, only one, which is the left one in the HUD marker for a trench, can actually fire out of it at any given time. For me, this basically means that I'd rather split 4 infantry units over 4 trenches instead of putting them in double stacked in 2 trenches, because then half the units cannot fire. The idea is that you'd switch the engaging unit on the left side of the HUD display to be of a more closer range damaging specialist unit if the enemy manages to get inside of that closer range, like a raider or a flamethrower unit, but I've never felt like that made more sense than having them just split up with each unit manning their own trench. Tanks will give a morale debuff to nearby enemy infantry, while giving allied infantry a morale boost. Keeping your infantry and armor together for protection, as well as the morale bonus, is a great way of keeping both alive. Now here we see the end screen of a battle in the campaign, showcasing the kills of both sides, as well as the type of victory or defeat the battle turned out to be. Battle honors can be given to both the player and the opponent, which can grant additional bonuses like supply, gold, national will, and more. The detailed battle overview showcases how much supply was spent, what and when units were called in, killed, surrendered, or retreated. Now, certain choices will have to be made during the campaign, granting you certain bonuses or penalties. Here, we have to choose between getting research from either option, but if we want to have 50 national will or 800 gold on top of that. Where the campaign goes even more in depth is the research system. You are free to research what you want in what order, though you will not be able to acquire enough research points throughout a campaign to completely unlock everything during a campaign, so you'll have to choose wisely, which again also sort of allows for more replayability, as each campaign will be slightly different depending on your research point selection. After selecting the Autoresolve option for a battle, it'll show you the result as well as the gold and supply cost for the battle, and to what degree the national will of either faction change as a result of that battle. In this next battle, we made use of an undermining explosive, something you place down during the pre-battle deployment, which you can detonate at any point during the battle to make a huge hole in the enemy defensive position, though at a very high supply cost. We also see some siege bombardments being used, which kind of take place between the deployment and the battle phase, which basically gives the receiving party no time to react, as the battle will commence right when they see what damage the siege bombardment has caused. After blowing up the undermined explosives and with support of air and artillery strikes, we make our way onto the point. And the main risk of this undermining ability, besides the cost, is the fact that you can't be 100% sure what is in the area you are mining until you've already spent the supply and commenced battle. After holding the objective for a while, the opponents offer their surrender, which means we can stop wasting points, men and supplies if we do accept it and get a great victory, and thus costing the enemy a star on the theater turn-based map. And only had 1 star left, it is now ours, with the surviving enemy units retreating to neighboring regions. I'm really looking forward to checking out the Great War Western Front later this week, and like I said in the beginning, I plan to be making a ton of content on the game. For now, I hope you enjoyed this video and love to catch you in the next one.